right, Twinkle Toes, what's your exit strategy?
I'm gonna walk right out of the front gate.
Ballsy. Stupid, but ballsy.
Alles in Ordnung, ich danke Ihnen. Schönen Abend an Sie. Sie? Sir? May I see your invitation, please?
Sure. Here's my invitation.
Ah, shit. Here we go.
Slight change in plans.
Los, Foxy!
Stay.
We're en route to the lower rendezvous point. I repeat, backup rendezvous point.
Watch it, watch it. It's called ice, and it gets a little slick.
Hurry, you copy!
I got it.
Shit!
Whoops. Whoa, I got it.
There he is!
Shit.
Hi, guys.
Oh, yeah, that worked good. Right out the old front gate.
Can you lean back a second? Let's go. We can still make our flight.
When it's time for some combat radio, you're going to like this one because it involves a hero who helped us out at Christmas time. Now, a lot of people have a Tom Arnold story. Most people have a legendary Tom Arnold story, but our story is about him coming out and taking the stage in front of an auditorium full of cancer survivors, most of them children, and helping us provide for the Children's Hospital. So my story starts with a sense of heroic epicness, but with us is one of everyone's favorite comedians and actors and just all-around legend, Tom Arnold. Tom, how are you, buddy?
Buddy, I'm doing well. It was great fun doing that. I think the most heroic part was doing a Christmas Carol, and I'm Jewish, so I really had to dig a little deeper. But my kids loved it. I'll tell you that. They're like, "Yeah, this is great. We love this."
Well,
So it was an honor to be there.
look, man, it was a privilege to have you there. It was interesting. I want to actually get to the Jewish angle in a second because the rumor is, or at least based on what I heard from the red carpet, is that you got like 40 Christmas trees in front of your house.
Oh
for
yeah,
Christmas.
that's very true. Well, some Jews don't celebrate Christmas. We do. Christmas is the most fun holiday. Santa Claus. That's what it's Santa Claus Day. We had my son, who was down there, has 24 Christmas trees in the front yard. During this time, he puts them up very early. I tell him, I make a deal with my kids. If you don't do Halloween, you could do Christmas early because Halloween's a whole nother
Yeah.
deal of blowing stuff up and setting stuff up. So yeah, they're out there and very proud of him. He goes out and he's 11 now. He was 10 when goes out and builds them, gets the ladders, put all the stuff. He's got a shed in the back with all his stuff in it, pulls it out of there. It's a huge pain in the butt. He's got a wagon. He's got a forklift thing, takes it out there, sets them up. I help him a little bit with the lights inside and outside, but he has to start the whole thing. And then my his little sister, who was 7 when we were with you, she assists a little bit and does her thing. And so we do big Christmas. We do Easter, which is the Easter Bunny Day to us. We do Hanukkah. We do Hanukkah. It's just not as fun. It's just it really I cannot. Yeah, you get 8 gifts. Oh my gosh! But we do it all. We do any holiday that involves candy or celebrating. So yeah, Christmas is big here.
Well, man, as a kid, the 8 days sounded like a much better deal. But the truth is I never applied any religious connotation to any of this.
No,
I just thought it was a good time. And
no, yeah,
I was
yeah, it's and really the candy you get for the got a little piece of gelt, which is a little chocolate with gold
mm,
foil on it, or something, a puzzle or a
right.
dreidel, and you can only get so many of those things. So, Christmas is, but they do like finding this stuff because the deal is that you got to hide it for them. So it's 8 days of trying to figure out how to hide something, something small. We have there's a back. We have an elf on a shelf that has a backpack, and that's what we use. We have a bench on a bench too, but again, the bench on a bench is not as good as the elf on the shelf. It's like, somebody's like, well, they got the elf on the shelf, which is very popular with the Christians and other people. We got to do our thing, bench on a bench. It's not good. It's an old man sitting there, The elf on a
Brilliant.
shelf.
Brilliant.
We have, my son has 150 of those, different sizes, different that he's collected. And as a parent, sometimes you go out to the sheds. They each have their own shed. My daughter's is beautiful. I decorated it. It's got pink carpet, a refrigerator, a heater, a big fancy. And my sons just have crappy piles in there. But eventually, you go out there sometimes and say, can we throw this out? This thing that you collected when you were 2 to 3 years old, these action heroes. And I used to think I should just throw them out. Then they'll never notice. But they would notice. And once in a while, they pull out their old stuff because even though they're 8 and 11, they're also still babies sometimes. And I have I can't saved one of my daughter's baby bottles, one of
Yeah.
the glass baby bottles. And once in a while, she'll say, Daddy, can I have some milk in the baby bottle? I'll say, absolutely. So you want to be prepared for that. I would like to throw away more stuff because they they collect a lot of stuff. But also, the last thing I would say is, as a dad, it's hard to throw away their stuff because you start going through it and it goes, oh, that reminds
Yeah.
me. You get emotional. And so, and then one of these days they'll be old and moving on. And then I could go through their stuff.
Well, I'm with you on that. As a father, my wife was throwing out some of my daughter's stuff, and I pulled it out and I put it in her trunk. And I told her about it a couple days later at dinner. I'm like, hey, I saved that for you. And I remember she said, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
She
Well,
was like glad to have it.
yeah, you get those. I was going in my daughter's closet. There's a onesie where she was this big, and I
Mm,
smell it. It smells just like, and
yeah.
there's no way I'm ever throwing that away. I do. I loved it when she was this big,
Yeah.
and both kids because they're right here. Feed them, bathe them. They go to sleep here. You do it all, and then as they get older, they take off.
Yeah.
They run. They go away. But every everything about being a father, every part of their childhood, I always think this is the best part. And then it gets better. So but it's good. It's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It's a great thing, man. I learned a lot about you actually at that Christmas event. I heard you talk about the Minch on a bench too on the red carpet, which I thought was interesting because you were like making a clinical comparison and
Yeah,
you were like really
yeah,
trying to break it down for the reporter. Like, hey,
yeah,
I don't know. This one is better this way, but this
yeah,
one also
yeah,
has its. And I was like, but what I learned about you is the meaning of being a true, gracious professional, because not only that's a charity gig, even the production guys volunteer their time that day. And when you walked through the crowd, you made a point of saying hello to everyone and stopping for every photo. And I said, this is how a pro does it right here. This guy's incredibly gracious. And I love having those experiences with talent because whenever anything negative comes up, which it comes up about everyone from Jesus to, whoever you pick,
yeah,
I I always get to say a heroic story about like this
yeah,
is what I witnessed. And
yeah.
that night I witnessed a class act
Oh,
making
yeah.
sure every
Thank you.
kid mattered.
Well, I'll tell
Uh,
you what. Yeah, what you guys do. I mean, that's the thing. a friend of mine, Peter Jason, who's an old friend.
I love
He's
him.
old and he's a friend for a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But that guy is just pure joy. And he'd reached out a long time ago, and I said yes. And of course, by the time it got to, for some reason, I thought it was at Simi Valley, which I was so relieved, and it wasn't. I'm like, what have I got myself into? It was like
Right.
9 months before. You can bring your kids; it'll be fun. And then as you get closer, you're like, what is happening? Do I have to memorize anything? I said I
Yeah.
can't. And it's actually funny because there was a lot of really good, talented people up there. And but there's sort of a feeling a little bit that you're still winging it, which I
Yeah.
like. You're sitting up there, you got the script. I lost my page once. While listening to other people, then they're looking at me like, "Oh, it's my line." I go, "Oh, shoot. What are the young people?" But that's it. I like to watch stuff like that where and it's sort of interacting with the audience, and they're all sitting up there, and then the group of us are having fun. We're because it's ridiculous. We're here and we're kind of looking at each other and supporting this, and so it was my honor to be there.
Oh, dude, the privilege was all ours. And Perlman lost his place too, but he just came right
Yeah,
out
he
and
did.
said,
He
"What?
did. He did. And he's another
What
guy.
page are you on?"
I
Yeah.
love
Oh,
him.
gee.
There's a lot of great, and my kids knew the young people in it. Like after
Good.
we left, they're like, "Do you know who that young girl that played the?" I go, I don't think I do. Well, she's in blank, and then she's in
Yeah.
blank. So that's always cool to see the people that they know and get some, young folks in there, and you sure appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going to show a clip right here where
Oh
Tom Arnold
God.
blew. No, I mean, you blew the stage. Charlie Schlatter comes up and says that Scrooge
Yeah.
is ruining his buzz, and your counter line is, "Mine too,
Yeah.
if I you."
Holiday revelers, good evening and welcome to A Combat Radio Christmas Carol.
Merry Christmas to you, Uncle.
Keep walking.
Are you the spirit who's coming?
No, I work for Amazon.
I'm back.
I know I'm not supposed to talk or anything.
He wants to have dinner with us.
Look, he must be off his meds. Tell him to go away.
We get it. We get it.
Way to kill my buzz.
Mine too. I mean, if I used.
What?
Make it 3.
Don't push it, kid. Don't push it.
You're right, 2 sounds good.
How much are we talking about? Because I put up with a lot of shit.
Hey, there are kids in the audience. God damn it.
I mean, the Saban was packed for you guys, and they were right there on every line. But I think also there was a sense of like audience loyalty because they were clear why you guys were doing it, and with that comes like a rooting interest.
I like that Charlie Slaughter. I saw Charlie Slaughter this weekend. It was across from me at the Hollywood autograph show, and I'm looking over there like that guy kind of looks familiar. And he gets up and comes up, goes, "It's Charlie Slaughter. Remember from the play?" I go, "Yes, of course I remember. I remember from other things too." But you see people that kind of look like people, but you don't want to go and think they're the person. Like that happens as you get older all the time. You either don't want to. You think, if I met them, I need to go say something, but what if I haven't? So I'll just reintroduce myself. "Hey, it's Tom Arnold here." And because you don't want people to get their feelings hurt. And also at the Hollywood show where I was like, I'm pretty old, but then Barbara Eden and Lee Majors were there.
There you go.
Just killing it, fun and young and lines of people and laughing and enjoying it. So I'm like middle aged for these shows, I'll tell you.
Hello, we're the Fab Four. He's Gavin. And he's Hardy. And we're both 2 people from the Fab Four. Help us find a cure for NMOSD and with it, cancer. Go to the Guthrie Jackson Foundation today and donate. Thank you very much.
That's the thing, right? You go to these things and sometimes you miscalibrate who somebody is and you say hello. But I just spin and be like, look, I just wanted to create some story to meet you. So there it was. Good to say. But anyway, we have a lot of talent. And Peter Jason, undoubtedly, like Hollywood's favorite grandfather.
Yeah, he is in a lot of ways. I don't know how many years ago I worked with him first, but and he's worked, and then we worked. I made sure we worked together more. But he's also a guy that's been sober a very long time and is always reaching out and helping people, and he's ridiculous, but he's amazing.
Yeah, he is kind of like my role model in a sense. If I could live like Peter Jason, I'd be achieving just a 10th of the degree. I mean, the guy's just a powerhouse socially and just so fun to be around. He recommended you for A Christmas Carol, and I remember him saying, "You'll love him. He is incredible to be around," and he was absolutely right. But I remember a couple years back, and if we hit on something you want to skip over, we can. George Beckerman.
No, whatever. Let's talk about it. What's that?
So George Beckerman came through the studio because we were Jackie Thomas fans.
Yes.
And we were laughing about the scenario of Jackie Thomas wanting to hire little people for his party because they could wear sombreros with the chips and the sauce.
Oh my God, that character, Jackie Thomas, is so ridiculous. That was the most fun TV show for sure I've ever done, and we did it for 1 year because here's where I got cocky. At the end of the first year, we followed Roseanne, or we went on right before Roseanne or whatever. So you get good ratings from that poll. But they wanted to change the show at the end of the season to make it where I wasn't in Hollywood. I was working back at the meatpacking plant that I worked at before I went to Hollywood. And I'm like, I don't want to change like that. And then Fox had just started, Fox Network, and they made us a big offer. And I was like, fine, I don't think that's going to last. Let's just call it a day and I'll do the next show. But those guys, man, we had so much fun. It is so ridiculous, that show. And it holds up. You get it on the internet, on the YouTube. Somebody's downloaded all the episodes, and I'm going to say it's very good.
Yeah, a show within a show with real life bullet points of show psychology that I laugh out loud at. Like, I want to kill the kid who's more popular than me, but maybe if we donate a kidney, I'll be more popular than him.
Gary Coleman.
We'll create a situation where he's on a deathbed and I save him through sacrifice. And just, but Beckerman said a story, and he goes, "You're never going to believe this, but somehow Tom Arnold like convinced Lauren Michaels to entrust Chris Farley's safety to them in LA at some point. Like, he was being very sincere. So was that a real thing?
Well, here's the deal. Chris did an impression of me on the show, and Victoria Jackson was Roseanne, and we watched it, and it was hilarious. I mean, it's brutal, hilarious. And so we decided we're going to go out and host the show, and Laura called me and says, "Listen, when you're out here, Chris Farley, who did the impression of you, I think you guys probably have a lot in common. Would you mind spending some time with him?" I go, "Of course I'm going to do that." And we did have a lot in common. We're both recovering addicts. He was a little bit then, addict alcoholics from the Midwest, same kind of family. And so we hung out, and I kind of helped him in that way. And but I was back in LA, so my next show, I forget which of my shows. First of all, I had him come out and do Roseanne. So I met him, had him do that. I had him do my HBO specials too, and play my brother on my shows. It's a good way to keep track of them. Right. And what the last time, not the last time, but Lauren called and says, I don't think because Chris we're celebrating his 3rd sober birthday or something. Like, it was a long time, 2 or 3 years, and I called there to talk to him at the show, and Laura got on the phone and goes, "Well, I think it's bad news." He goes, "I hear him in his office, and he's crying so loud he wants everyone to hear it. So I think he might have relapsed or whatever." So I get a hold of him, and I tell the writers, next we're going to have Farley in the show, rewrite the show. We're going to have him out there. So we get him out here, nervous about getting him out here. He gets here. He stays with me, and stays with me, got my eyeballs on him. And then on Friday night, we shot the show. The audience goes. I say, "Hey, come up to Chris, before you leave, because he wanted to get the hell out of there, I said, come up to my dressing room real quick, we'll say goodbye. And so he comes up there and he walks into a room with, I forget, Rob Lowe and a bunch of other people in recovery, like, an intervention. And he's like, oh, okay. And then everybody tells him how much they love him and they're worried about him. And I had a guy from a rehab there that I knew that done a lot of great work. And there was a specific place we wanted him to go down to the marina. I forget what it was called. But Chris is like, well, this is such an addict thing to do. Yeah, I will do that. But first, I need to fly to New York and get some stuff, which to me meant heroin. Because he's an addict. Of course, you're going to get out there and then you're going to really blow it out before, And my buddy was great. He said, so you just want to get effed up again? He goes, I tell you what, we'll take you in there right now to this rehab and you will be effed up. Because they give you medication right when you come through the door so you don't detox. And Chris is like, let's go. And so that's how we got him into that place. He hung in for a while. But he was here so I could spend time with him. And the other guys could go down and see him. And the more time he spent here, the better things were for his sobriety and stuff. But he like a lot of us, he's like, okay, I still got one more run in me, and then I'm going to go right into rehab. So when he died, he was going into rehab the next day, his 17th rehab, and he'd just come to see me at my show. We took pictures at my other show and spent time together, and he wasn't looking good. And he does Saturday Night Live. He was not looking good, but my thing, I have more of a sense of urgency with him. Like, I don't know if you're going to make it to your next rehab. But, when you're an addict, an alcoholic, and you're in the middle of that stuff, that voice in your head that wants to kill you suddenly tells you, you got this, blow it out one more time. And that's what happened, And the sex worker that was with him told his brother, who found his body, sadly, that the last thing he did was he jumped up in the air and clicked his heels and said, oh, this is going to be great. And then he fell backwards. And she thought he'd passed out, so she left. You don't want to be in that situation. But he died. Like, it's going to be great, and he died. So, terribly sad. His brother, one of his brothers, was working on my other television show that day. We were doing a funeral scene. And so I get a call in my dressing room, and it was a reporter who said, I'm sorry about Chris. And I have a brother named Chris. But I was like, oh, it's not him. Oh, shit. And I hung up on the guy. And then I call Kevin Farley, who's on the show, and go, hey, what's going on? And then to get his other brother on, you go, well, he did it. I go, okay, we're going to let's all of us go somewhere right now together. And we'll call Spade, and we'll just go talk about this right now. Let's see and then we all, we did. And then we flew back there, terribly sad, 33 years old. Boy, it's a long time ago. It seems like yesterday. And, but that's, I also appreciate his body of work. When my kids see him on TV, they don't know the whole story. I do tell them though, but he's just so talented, so fun to watch. And I think sometimes when you're big too, his dad weighed 700 pounds. I'm not joking. His dad weighed 700 pounds. And at one point, right before he died, he and his dad, and Chris weighed 3 whatever, and he's not super tall. But his dad came out and said, his dad was alcoholic. He said, I'm going to deal with this stuff with you, son. So his dad flies out. They had a thing called Predicate over there in Santa Monica, this whole operation. And so they went in, the father and son, they're doing this together. What a great bonding thing. And then his dad left after one day and left Chris there. So that had to be very disappointing. But, when you're very big, I always said to Chris, you can either be super fat or do drugs. You can't do both. It just will not work out. I'm telling you. And I think with drugs and alcohol, you could go, I'm sober today, right now, this moment, I am sober today. That's an accomplishment. I am sober, and I'm going to try and do it again tomorrow. But when you weigh 300 some pounds, you look in the mirror like, how many days? That's, I'm disgusting. How do I get my head around that? That's just too much. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to feel good about myself today. But there are ways. There are ways to go, be healthy this one day, but it was a lot. It was a lot for him.
Yeah. Props on you making the call to get everyone mustered up. That was a good decision at the time, just for the, to deal with the fallout of it. I've had people come up to me and say he's the reason they don't do drugs, actually, because of witnessing that train wreck and just the loss of talent, because he was so beloved. He was so, I mean, that's a guy, much like yourself, he walks in the room and you just start laughing. Just his personality.
Yeah, and but he had two different things going. He had that, and he'd always complain, I don't want to go there. They want me to be funny. And I go, then don't be funny. Just go in with me to wherever we're going. And then the next thing I know, he'd be like, hello, everybody. Like he couldn't control himself.
Yeah.
So it really is on him, too. You can't, and it's on me. It's on us. Performers are like, people expect this of me. And, they just don't do it. Or in his case, do it. I remember he called one time and said, oh, my gosh, Patrick Swayze's the host. And the writers, they want me to do this sketch with him where I take off my clothes and I'm dancing with him and he's got his shirt off and I got my shirt off and I'm embarrassed. I think people make fun of me. What should I do? And I said, well, is the sketch funny? And he goes, well, yeah. I go, will it be the funniest fat guy with his shirt off ever sketch? And I said, if the answer is yes, then you do it. You do it. And get around, just get it right in your head. By the way, Chris had no problem getting naked always. I'm just going to tell you, like his thing was we'd be somewhere and I'd say, where's Chris? And he'd come running through completely naked. So it's not like he had that kind of a thing. But, Lauren suspended him, which took a lot of guts. At one time and I talked to Lauren about it, he said, I just don't want to. We need him on the show. It hurts my show to have him not here. Right. But I'm worried it's going to be like Belushi, because Lauren was Belushi's guy, too. And, they're completely different human beings, John Belushi and Chris Farley. But it is ironic that that's who Chris loved. They both died at 33, as did Jesus. By the way, Jesus was a Jew.
That's right.
They both died at 33. And, that's... sometimes you gotta, and I also feel like, he put a lot of life in those years. I hate to sound like that, and I wish he was alive, and I wish he had kids that my kids could play with, and we could hang out. But it also reminds me how lucky I am to be here, and how lucky. I think it inspires a lot of people. They talk about that. They're like, holy hell, if he died, I guess we could die. Yeah, we could die. Yeah. We could die. We could cause a lot of trouble, and then we could die. So, by the grace of God, here we are.
I'm glad he had you in those days, though. It's nice to have someone you can count on who actually cares. And thank you for also reminding us that Jesus was a Jew, because I sometimes think people need that reminder.
He was the best Jew. He was the best. He's number one.
He was the best Jew. He was the best. You also worked with Schwarzenegger, who I worked with at Warner Brothers. And you were at Warner Brothers doing Exit Wounds while I was there with Seagal, another guy I would later work with. You work with all the greats. But Schwarzenegger was really an endearing guy when I interfaced with him. Like, it was almost impossible to have a grudge against him of any sort. He would just he would grab me by the shoulders and say, you got good shoulders. And then he'd point at my gut and be like, you look like you've been relaxing, But you revisited him on FUBAR.
Yeah. I did last week. Last week we started filming. I was up in Toronto with him filming the season 2.
Nice.
Doing more of it, season 2. I love being with him, but I got up there, and it's my life. Is so great being a single dad. Everything is great. I just if there's one negative, it's that the kid's mom is a narcissist. Like, this isn't me making this up. This is the courts. We've been in court 12 times. It's called the police a bunch of the court psychologists, because they're like, what is happening? Said this couple months ago, said it's good news she's not a psychopath who wants to murder you. I was like, that is good news. She's a sociopath who wants other people to murder you. She's a narcissistic sociopath. So I go, what can I do about that? And he said, nothing. Well, what can she do about it? And they say she'll never do anything. So just repeating stuff, one thing, one scamp showing up outside, one thing, and because there's no shake. Like, if I got taken out of the house at Christmas with in front of my kids, I'd be like, okay, I got to change something about my behavior. But
Right.
they don't. These folks, the narcissists, they don't feel that. They don't feel empathy. They don't feel. They just want to get validation, however, toxic it is, and in front of the kids and whatever. And so I am very grateful. But I went up there with Arnold, and you have to. It will cost you every time you have to go through something like this, but it's worth it. It's for my kids. Sharon Stone told me 5 years ago, when we were right after we broke up, she goes, I know her, and it's going to cost you every dime you have to get your kids. I go, no, come on, not every day, because I had a nice retirement. She goes, oh, what do you want, money or your kids? I go, well, I want my kids, of course. And she was right. And she was right. But so I get up there with Arnold, and I love them. They got a top-notch production up there. Stayed at the Four Seasons up there, and everybody's being taken care of. And I'm like, this is a pretty good feeling. Then I go down and hang out with him. We do some scenes, and you get the old rhythm back, and he's into it. I'm into it. And the other people are watching us kind of go back and forth. They're up there, and it felt good. We had a schnitzel he got a schnitzel for lunch, but I was sitting there like, this feels really good. I it's okay to be away, from the kids, for going to her house for the weekend, whatever. It's okay. And I'm going to enjoy this. I was going to stay an extra day and go out with the cast on Saturday night. And I get a call from my ex, like, you need to come back. I have an emergency. I have to leave the kids. I have to leave. And so I ended up was shooting all night, getting on a plane, coming back, getting the kids. But I'm not going to forget how I felt before that, which was, wow, I'm a really lucky guy to work in this business, which I'd be friends with Arnold Schwarzenegger, have all these other positive people around doing quality work. That I do appreciate that. And that's, so, you got to enjoy those things. You can't focus on, and the great thing about what I understand now about the person I'm dealing with is there literally nothing I can do. You can recognize patterns. You can see something coming, but it's not going to change maybe it'll be, that's on me. It's not going to change. So you have no contact with the person, hopefully. You have and the courts help you. They're like, yeah, okay, this is, but I think you forget about a lot of good things in your life because of everything, the reoccurring trauma of, oh no, what's happened now? Are the kids going to be taken away? Am I going to jail? Is it whatever? And after 7 years of that, it's nice to go, oh, I have this other part of my life that I'm very lucky to have, and it's fun. Whether it be doing a play with you guys, like that was silly fun. I got to bring my kids because they had nowhere else to go, but that was fun. And this other stuff, and I wonder, I hope that I continue to enjoy it like this and appreciate it. You know what I mean? Because it's a good feeling.
Well, we appreciate you being around, man. And I got to give Sasha props, your assistant, because she goes, hey, Tom needs a place. He's bringing his kids down. And I shot her a thing. I said, kids are totally welcome at this thing, but I don't know if I'm the guy to watch them. Like, I misunderstood her request, but we loved having your kids there.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to, they go to the comedy clubs, they go on sets.
They were awesome.
They enjoy it. Their point of view of stuff is pretty funny. Yeah. So, but I love being around them. I also want to see what their dad does. My dad worked on a farm, and so I had to go out to the farm and bale hay and detassel corn and rogue beets. And I remember thinking, I don't want to work on a farm. Like, right. I want my kids to make a decision. Do they want to work in show business? There's a lot of jobs in show business. But I want them to see every aspect of it to go, yeah, that's not for me. Because I knew that growing up, that wasn't for me. But you also want to give them, hang out with your kids.
The kids are always a better deal anyway than the money, right? In the long run. And
but I have one positive thing to say. When I turned 65 in March, I go down to the Social Security office. I social media this. I'm so excited I'm 65. Go down there, and people are like, "Are you scared about getting older?" I'm grateful to be older. Holy shit! So, and one thing about 65, before you're 65 and people die your age, people are like, "Wow, so soon." But when you're 65 and people die your age, people go, "He had a good run. He really had a good run." So I get down to Social Security, and I say, "I want Social Security today." And they said, why don't you wait till you're 66 and 10 months? And I'm like, I don't know where I'll be at 66 and 10 months. That's when I would get the most. So and I need the money today. I'm going to take it. And then I said, while I'm here, I want to get my kids copies of their Social Security cards. I lost them. And they're like, oh, you have kids? I go, yeah. They go, how old? I go, 8 and 11. They're like, can you prove that? I think because I'm old. I go, yes, I'm bring your custody thing down to something for the school. So I go back down there and I'm thinking, damn it, my kids. My first thought was my ex-wives, which I have 4, are going to get my Social Security. So I'm going to try to be sneaky down here. But now I'm thinking the kids are going to get it. So I get in there and I found out they don't tell you this. I think because they assume 65-year-old guys don't have little kids. But you get extra money. But if you have little kids, like it doubled. Like I didn't tell the kids because they'd want it, but that was a real positive financial thing about the kids. That's the first one where it's like, okay, that's advantageous for dad.
Oh, for sure. So getting back to your food bar experience, right? One of the directors on that show is our partner here, Steve Surgic, did The Witcher, Umbrella Academy. He was actually at A Christmas Carol, and we were talking. My wife agrees with this, by the way, that you may be the best co-star Arnold Schwarzenegger has ever worked off of.
Oh, that's true. I'll take that.
Yeah, that is true, right? She's right, we're right. But the funny thing about it was Steve Surgic, I was like, did you get the Tom Arnold episode? Mm-hmm. And he's like, he was genuinely upset. I mean, this guy's got 400 directing credits, including some for Lauren Michaels. He's like, no, damn, I wanted that. That would have been the perfect job. He really wanted it. So I think he's glad to hear that you're back on the show for season 2, because I think he's going to circle around again. He was lobbying for the Tom Arnold Schwarzenegger partnership. But let's talk funny story. Let's compare stories real quick. Well, actually, I don't want to compare mine because yours are undoubtedly much better. But give me a funny moment with Schwarzenegger that really humanized him.
Well, he is, I will say this about him, as he's gotten older, because we've known each other a long time, he gets a little more sentimental, which is, but he's always, he from I first met him in probably end of 80s, early 90s, he's always been big on service. Give me back. We're so lucky to be in this country. Nobody's happier to be an American than Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't care what people.
Right. Subject at K Street and Key Bridge. Vehicle is red and white convertible, and you got exactly 6 minutes.
Hey, wait a minute, man. Are you out of your mind? You can't pull agents off of priority surveillance to follow your wife. That's a misappropriation of sector resources, and it's a breach of national security. You copy, Harry? Hey, you're losing it big time, man. I have to stop you.
What are you gonna do, tell?
Look, goddammit, Harry, both of our butts are on the line here, okay? So your life's in the crapper. So your wife's banging a used car salesman. It's humiliating, I know, but goddammit, take it like a man.
You tell on me, I tell on you.
What are you talking about? I'm as clean as a preacher's sheets. I'm as clean as a baby.
What about the time you blew a 6-week operation because we're busy getting a blowjob, huh?
You knew about that?
Huh.
All right, let's take Franklin. It's a lot quicker.
Well, a funny story was before we started filming True Lies, Jim Cameron said, hey, do you want Arnold to come over to your house and train with you? Because they wanted to really bond us. Like, you've got to pretend you've been old friends for 30 years. And I said, yeah, I believe I would like the greatest bodybuilder that ever lived to come to my house and work out with me in my unused gym. So he shows up 6 a.m. next day. I answer the door. I'm like, oh, shit, Arnold. Damn it, I forgot you were coming. Hey, everybody I've ever met is here. Guys, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's coming into my house. Where is my gym, by the way? So we trained that day. And then that afternoon, Jim Cameron calls and said, what time do you want Arnold there tomorrow? And I said, I don't. And he said, why? I go, well, number one, now I can say I worked out with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. And number two, it's a lot of pressure to work out with Arnold Schwarzenegger because he knows more about the human body than anyone. And he wants to help you. And he does the thing where he looks at you up and down, which makes me uncomfortable with that. And he has to compliment one of your body parts. And he's like, Tom, you have fantastic left shin. And then he starts to my trouble spots. I got a lot of damn trouble spots. So I didn't need it. So for 7 months, we filmed True Lies. And our trailers were side by side. And then he had a semi-truck retrofitted into a gym. Semi-trailer next to his. And we come out after getting our makeup off and stand. And he go, do you want to get a pump going? Or I go, no, I'm going to go to Ben and Jerry's ice cream. For real. That's what I did every night. And now here's how I knew we were becoming best friends in real life. The movie went over time, over budget, and it started getting Arnold Schwarzenegger, the most positive person you've ever met. It started to get to him. But one night we went out of our trailer and I said, "Hey, enjoy your workout." And I started walking away. He's like, "No, I'm not working out. Give me 2 bites of rum raisin ice cream." And so from that point, he stopped working out. He was super depressed. He gained weight. And that's when I knew we were friends, because there's no way he was pulling me up to his level. I mean, are you kidding me? But if you can pull a dude down to your disgusting level, even for a little bit, you're like, that's a friendship. Yeah.
That's a big score, buddy. And Rum Raisin is a good choice. No, he still has that trailer, I think, or that gym. And he had it on Collateral Damage. I remember he would tell the janitor who was mopping up the stage. The thing about Arnold that I love is he would talk to everyone the same, the head of the studio or the guy at Starbucks, and he'd be like, "You're doing it wrong. You have to do it like this to get your shoulders into it." And he would like start work. And I said, that is a story that dude's going to tell his grandchildren.
Yeah. Well, I also have to say, James Cameron talks to everybody. He does it. And James, was only in True Lies because of James Cameron. Now, I got a call from my agent, William Morris, that's what he used to be called. He's like, James Cameron wants to meet you for this movie, True Lies. So I knew it was bullshit. I was like, I knew he was all, the real actors were meeting for the role that I wanted. I knew it was bullshit. I knew it was a mercy meeting because William Morris called James Cameron and said, "Please, we do a lot of business with you, but we're afraid that Tom and Roseanne are leaving the agency. Please do this for us. We know you're not going to cast this a-hole. Please." So I knew it was a mercy meeting. So I'm like, I'm not doing it. I have some self-esteem. I'm not going to. And then I thought, well, shoot, I want to meet James Cameron. This will be my only opportunity to meet James Cameron. So I go over to the meeting, and Jim, super nice, super cool. We're chit-chatting, you know. And then after a while, he's like, "Okay, do the audition scene." And I said, "Yeah, I didn't even read it." He said, "Why'd?" I go, "Because I know I'm not going to the movie. And so it seems like it'd be less painful if I didn't even try." And that's a lesson I'm trying to teach my kids. So then he goes, "Well, it's 3 pages. Just read it one time." So I read this 3-page scene one time, and he goes, "Oh, okay. Get Arnold down here." Now, again, I didn't know Arnold Schwarzenegger was up there in the loft. And so, well, all of a sudden, freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger starts walking down the stairs. And Jim Cameron said he cast me because when Arnold was walking down the stairs, I turned to him and said, "I could take him." Like, you know how you do if you're a guy. You're like, "Oh, yeah, I got this guy." So Arnold and I did the scene together one time. Chemistry was freaking amazing, as you know. And Jim's like, "You got the part." And I'm like, "Whoa." And he goes, "But don't tell anyone for 2 weeks." And I said, "I swear to God, I won't tell anyone the best news of my life for 2 weeks." Okay, I got to run out to my car and make a call. So I leave those guys. I get on my phone. I call everybody I know. Nobody believes me. My own wife thinks I'm back on drugs. That night, in front of my mirror, washing my face, I look at myself like, maybe that didn't happen. That is so crazy. Why would he ask me to wait 2 weeks? And I didn't know until after the movie came out because Jim didn't want to hurt my feelings. But he had to go over to Fox studio right after that. And because True Lies was the most expensive movie ever made at the time. Mm-hmm. And he had to give them the good news. And so he goes in there and goes, "Hey, we can start filming True Lies." They're like, "That's fantastic. That's fantastic." He goes, "I found the third guy after Arnold and Jamie Lee." They're like, "That's amazing, Jim Cameron. Who is it?" And he says, "It's Tom Arnold." They're like, "That is terrible news, Jim Cameron." And he said, "Why?" And he said, "Don't you read the tabloids? He's a crazy person." And Jim Cameron's like, "No, I don't read the tabloids, but I wrote this movie, and he is the guy." Yeah. And they're like, "Well, we're sorry, Jim. We cannot approve Tom Arnold for this movie." And Jim Cameron said, "Actually, I'm sorry, because I wanted to make the movie here at Fox, and now I'm going to go down the street and make it at freaking Paramount." And they were like, "Okay, we'll give him a chance." And so, so he did that for, like, how many people, he was right to do it, but you talk about putting butt on the line for somebody and how grateful I am. You don't have to have too many things like that happen to feel good.
No, man, but you sold him, and he, he backed up what he believed was the best option, which turned out to be you, and props to his guts.
Yeah. Right.
And you know what? Honestly, if you had read the pages and over-prepared, you might have not come off right.
That's true. And even when we were shooting, I didn't realize how big of a deal it was. Yes. And I'd ad-lib and stuff, and he really didn't let anybody else ad-lib. But he'd say, "Okay, Tom, do it my way once." And okay, I'll do it. You this see, and then one night he's like, now do it 17 different ways, smart guy. So I had to add in 17 different things. He'd have to rebuild the stuff. And it was great fun. He kept a lot of the stuff that I had. It was a great script, a great character. It would have been great for anybody, but it was just a wonderful experience.
Yeah, man, and it was unbelievable, your performance. It was so laugh out loud, awesome, yet so right for the movie. Sometimes people chew the scenery and go way south on it, but you guys were just so in tune. It was just like an epic showing, and one of our favorites to this day. And I'm so glad that you're doing the FUBAR stuff. And then you got to bounce, since we also have Seagal in common. I know Seagal brings the same energy to the set that Schwarzenegger brings. I'm kidding, of course.
Really? I know one thing about Seagal, what I did, was, and he's so weird, but I was looking at him like, I could definitely take him. He's huge now. He's full on Vladimir Putin suck up, and but he's a weird guy. He's different. And DMX, my trailer was between DMX and Steven Seagal, and you could not have had a more diverse. This DMX's music, he played his own music, and then Steven's in there with his guitar, and I tell some funny stories about Steven, and then a couple years ago I get a call from this agent in Europe. He's like, Steven wants to know who's paying you to tell stories about him. I go, nobody's paying. I do that for free. I tell stories about everything. Well, we want to set up a handshake with you guys, or a lunch or whatever. And I'm like, I'm good. I am good. He has to do nothing for me. I don't, it's all good. We are going to do that. And so he didn't do the next movie in the series. Joel Silver produced all these movies in a row, same directors, a lot of same actors. And the next one was called Cradle to the Grave, which Steven should have, gotten along better, because X-Men was also #1. Like it made money. And they brought in Jet Li to be the action guy. And Jet Li is this tall. His hands are that big, and he can beat the shit out of everybody. Like, he was a judo champion of all of China. He's the real deal.
Right.
And I love working with Jet Li. I had a crush on him, love working with him. And when they were rehearsing, him and the MMA guys, who I knew, Tito and Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, he goes, let's do, usually you go half speed rehearsal, but he had everything choreographed so he could go up this. And he went more than half speed. And they're so much bigger than him, they could not get their hands on him, because he'd get behind him and do this thing with their hands. They'd have to submit. Like, he was so fast. And so there was a lot of respect for those guys for him too, which is always good to see.
Yeah. So I remember being at Warner Brothers, and Exit Wounds was taken off, and one of the conditions in the feature development building was that Seagal had to learn dialogue. I remember that's how it was put in the meeting. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and I was new. I'd started in 2000. So I'm like, wait, what? Does he not know? I hadn't met him yet. Does he not know? But he would do something very interesting. If he wanted to get noticed, he would set up a beach chair outside of the stage.
Of course.
And go say hi to the tour and give them an experience. And I actually thought that was pretty endearing.
Well, Joel Silver made a $75,000 back then piece for, because he was thinning up here. Really nice. Like, I wish I had it. Like, I would wear that and Seagal, his ego would not allow him to wear it, but he did color his own hair with a black Sharpie. I swear to God. And when the movie premiered on the big screen, you could see like a half inch of black Sharpie. It pops out on the big screen. Wow. So that was a funny thing. My ego is too big to use this piece, but I will color my hair in. So that's, but he's I wish him the best. I actually don't wish him the best. I don't wish him the best, because he's all pro-Russia. He's anti-Ukraine. I don't wish him the best. I'd like to see him get his big fat ass down there at the front line. Because the last video I saw of him, he looked like he ate 3 Steven Seagals. Like he's done this fake thing that Putin likes. People are running at him. What? Yeah. It's supposed to be martial arts, but they're really doing. And that says everything you need to know about Putin. Putin's idea of a major action star hero is Steven Seagal, not Arnold Schwarzenegger, not one of these badass guys. That's the Russian version, which tells you we're lucky to be here.
We are lucky to be here. And the last Seagal movie I saw, he didn't even get out of a chair in the scenes, so he acted the entire thing sitting down. But
I'd like to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe we should be envious of that, but
Yeah.
Jet Li, honestly, he's a total pro. But do you have a good Joel Silver story? We loved Silver on the lot. I mean, he wore the best
he's
what
a
looked like
crazy person. He's
pajamas.
crazy. Oh yeah, that true. I mean, he has Joel Silver has produced a lot of great action movies, and he's a character. And his wife, I don't know if they're still together, but she was a character too. Like she kind of centered him. I think that made things. But he's old school Hollywood, not super old school, but old school. Let's make this movie. We're going to blow this stuff up, and I was honored to work with him. And a lot of people that started with him have gone on to do all kinds of other stuff. So he's he's one of the guys, one of the things on Mount Rushmore of the action, the people that put action and comedy together, and so he's still there. Is he still alive?
Yeah, he is. He just did Roadhouse. I think. Yeah,
well, I'd like to work for him.
You're talking in the right tense. No, I think he just did Roadhouse actually with Gyllenhaal.
Oh, he did. Yeah. My kids, I got to see it. I don't know if it can be as good as the original, but we're gonna watch that. And I will say this: at the end of Exit Wounds, I played a talk show host, and they built a talk show set for me, but we never shot anything on the set. And I said, "That's bullshit, Joel. Let me do something." And just shoot a roll of film of me and Anthony Anderson sitting on my talk show set, ad-libbing some stuff you can use on the credits. And it really is the best. Anthony Anderson is so funny. But the two of us, it does play over the credits on Exit Wounds. And the guy the critic for the New York Times said, if you walk by the theater and heard the theater during the credits, in other words, heard how much people are like, you would think Exit Wounds was the best movie ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to introduce my new co-host. How about a big hand for TK Johnson? TK,
what's up, White Chocolate? How you doing?
Hey, good to see you too, man.
All right, baby.
All right. What do you like to be called? Do you like to be called a black man? Do you like to be called a African American?
I like to be called TK, baby.
Yeah, okay.
Don't label me.
Right.
I mean, what do you prefer? Ofe?
Yeah.
Or do you prefer cracker?
Yeah.
Redneck? I mean, which one do you like?
I don't. Well, cracker's good.
Yeah. Hi, Mama.
She's
I love
out there,
you.
Isn't she? Does your dad watch it?
Yeah, man, but he got glaucoma.
Oh, really?
He probably at home smoking a joint right now.
Yeah.
Man, so he can hear me though.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, hey, Daddy, say something for me, dog. Say something for me. Remember.
It was fun. And at Cradle of the Grave, we did another thing just like it, and it was fun. But I had fun working with him.
Again, you're great. You're the smart hire, and I love Silver's office too. He had the pinball machine with his own face on it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's when you know you've arrived.
Of course he does. Yeah.
Of course he does. Right. Exactly. I also wanted to ask you, this might be an offbeat question, but you were interviewed by Larry King, and he is kind of like the godfather of, the radio business to a degree. He's since passed away. Right. But can you walk me through that experience? Did you enjoy being interviewed by Larry King, or was that?
Yeah, I was interviewed a bunch of times by Larry King. The thing I think his kids, his boys, who are now adults, but his boys were. I did a show. What was it called? Pitch. So I don't know what's up. It's about I coach these young kids, and Rodney Pete's son was on there. He's great. He works for the Dodgers now. Holly Robinson, Rodney Pete. And Larry King's kids were, and they were great. And but Larry's history goes back to Jackie Gleason, who was my original idol, my original hero. And when Larry started in Miami, Jackie Gleason would just come over there and have a few drinks and get on the radio and just give these great interviews. And so what I like about Larry King is he was always a fan of the people he interviewed or whatever, and even. If you had a publicist that said, my client does not want to discuss this issue, I'm sure that Larry's producers like, okay. But Larry would forget, like he asked the most blunt questions of people. It was really great because then they're looking at him on live TV and they got to answer it. Like he didn't do, he had a way of making you feel good. He did all that stuff, but, he was the real deal. He kept it going. His last show was on RT, Russian television or whatever, and I did that a few times. And he really enjoyed working, and great guy, really groundbreaking.
Was Gleason the reason he got Sinatra? I think he told a story, right?
Sure.
That where Gleason had all this pull.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he did, because he was, what I forget what the Great One. That's what's his name? The Laurence Olivier called Jack Gleason the Great One, which is I saw a quote. They asked Freddie Mercury when he was what it feels like to be the best singer in the world. He says, I don't know. Ask Steve Perry. Steve Perry from Journey. I like it when there's always these connections. So yeah, I mean his stories, Larry King. He was married 8 times. I've got a ways to go for that. He had that stuff. He had the bagel place in Beverly Hills. Just a really good guy that knew a lot of people. It's a small world. Yeah. And he did it for that is a tough business. And he did it for a long time. So I'm happy. I bet I went on to the show 20 times, maybe more.
Well, bro, the ending for you is not yet written. That's going to be up to you to scribe out. But, you got to break it.
We're one heartbeat away. I take nothing for granted, We're one heartbeat away. And I will say the last 11 years, I've been living my best life, like every dream, being a father. I've done all the other stuff. When I was a kid, I had a single father, so I know it can be done. My mom was a lunatic, drug addict, alcoholic, left the family when I was 4. Thank God. And so my dad had 3 when he was 22, I was 4, my sister was 3, and my brother was 1. And I remember saying, Dad, you don't play with this stuff, you're boring, you worked in a factory, you did the farm. And then once I had my first child, I went, oh shit, no, he was a hero. Like he was killing it. He was, right. But the only time we ever heard our dad really laugh was when there was a Bob Hope special. And back in the 60s, Bob Hope would go to Vietnam or Korea or whatever and entertain the troops and bring pretty women with him and sort of do the double entendre humor. And my dad loved that. And I remember hearing him laugh and saying, whatever it is that Bob Hope does, that's what I'm going to do. And so one of the first things I did, probably 1989 when I came here in 88, but 89 or so, I did a Bob Hope special. And so Bob Hope called my dad. He signed all this stuff. And then so my dad, in the same living room where he used to watch Bob Hope when I was a small kid, he is watching Bob Hope stand next to his son in a special. And that's magic. I mean, once that happened, I'm like, I don't know what else I want to do. That was my absolute goal. So there you go. And I got obviously into the USO from Bob Hope. He's like, because he would drag, let's do this thing. And I've loved it. I'm grateful to be of service. I've seen some very exciting places. And, the thing about entertaining the troops is you're like, well, I'll do whatever it takes to make these guys laugh. There's no, I will do it. And the experiences you have are just incredible. So I highly recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, an incredible privilege. At Christmas, my wife uncovered an audio file of Bob Hope's early USO shows during World War II.
Wow.
And he had channeled in feed from Guadalcanal, and he was letting these, and keep in mind, right, those guys are like 17, 18.
Yeah.
But the reverence he had for their sacrifice, and when it would cut to him, you could hear it in his voice. And I get kind of emotional thinking of this audio. And he would go, now we're going to go to the English Channel where the anti-aircraft gunners, and they went around the world this Christmas, and the level of sacrifice that these young men made, clearly it makes it our privilege to do whatever we can do.
Well,
right?
Of course, the anniversary of D-Day, D-Day's 50th anniversary, I have to say, I flew over Normandy. I was on the way to, I heard a rumor that my first ex-wife had a boyfriend there in Sardinia. I said, I got to see that. I tell the Inquirer guy, I got to see it. Then I'll know everything's okay. And she's moving on. We had a big confrontation over there. But I flew over there, and this year I made a video because my grandpa, I have a cigar box, and my grandpa was in the 42nd Rainbow Division. He served in North Africa. They fought Rommel, and then they went up and ultimately liberated Dachau, the concentration camp. So he never talked about the war, and all of us grandkids thought our grandpa was very crabby. He was crabby. But when I was 11, I moved in with him and my grandma. And so I got to know him way better. And he started talking to me about the war, and he got out his cigar box, which I showed on my video there, which I still have. And then it was all his medals, everything, this, that, stuff I wasn't aware of. But also there's an Iron Cross in there. There's a Nazi armbands, several, and a little flag, and stuff. And he said, I said, why do you have these, Grandpa? And he said, because those are the Nazis I killed, and I don't want to forget it. Because as they came into Dachau, they got about 3 miles away. My grandpa was a medic, too. He worked with the general, and you're a medic, you get to see the worst. So they're about 3 miles away. They smelled this horrible smell, and my grandpa, the other thought, well, maybe, we're from farm country. Maybe that's a bunch of dead animals. And then they got closer, and it was, no one had prepared them. You'd heard stories about the concentration camps, stories, never seen pictures. They were not prepared in any way to go through the gate and see tens of thousands of bodies stacked on top of each other. They liberated 32,000 Jews, people from there, which is a great thing, but they had to go in there and clean up. I mean, it was just so shocking. And he said up to that point, he thought of the Nazis like, yeah, they're defending their country. That's what we would do, whatever. But then it became, once he saw that, he's like, this is full on hate. And he said the other guys are like that too. Like, you're like, well, people, we get war, we go against each other, then it's over, whatever. But then it became a whole different thing for all of those guys. But that's and that's something you got, do you think about the shit that went down to those guys? They go, let's do it. Let's go over there. And it makes you very grateful,
Yeah. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine that experience.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, shoebox or the cigar box, I've showed it to my kids, but I hide it from my son because he would take it to school and show his buddies, and then I have to call him, why does Jax have a Nazi flag? I go, it's a long story. Can I tell it? You don't have time to tell the story, especially if you're Jewish. Listen, here's the deal. But, you want them to be, you don't want to hit them too hard, kids. But you want them to have some awareness. When I was about 5, my uncle made a kind of a famous seminal documentary about the Holocaust that was very well known. And of course, we watched it. All the kids watched it. That's what parents did. They're like, hey, check this. I mean, and I think that's something I would pace my kids with. I mean, there's a thing where a couple times a year I have to watch Holocaust documentaries. I have to watch stuff. And you just have to, I have to bear witness. It's like the Hamas thing. I had to go down to the Museum of Tolerance and watch the Hamas video, the disgusting video they shot, and get to spend time with the hostage families who'd flown in for this, and some soldiers. And I'm like, I just have to bear witness to this. It's awful. I can't explain it, but you just need to do that. And so, and you're also fully capable of bearing witness to what the Palestinian children are dying, and you can think two things, but I think anytime you go, well, I'm for the children, wherever they are, there's some adults that are become complete a-holes, a lot of them do. But if you just look at it that way, and, it's not an either or thing for me.
I think it's important to do that, especially like in that decade and the decade prior in the 30s, to watch how civilized people can get wound up into becoming animals.
Yeah, that's true. People can become, all they need is the leaders,
right?
The people above them to make it okay, and then bam. And human beings become freaking animals. So that's a really great example of how that happened in Germany. And I think it's important for history, for us to teach history, American history. American history hasn't always been like a straight line to goodness. We took a while to get in that war. We took a while. We rejected some ships full of Jews that were trying to come here, and we rejected it. And we made some mistakes, but now I think it's good for our country right now in this moment. We're talking about potentially an authoritarian and his buddies running the country. And I remember when people would be like, well, Trump's like Hitler, and people go, that's outrageous. That's outrageous. But in the 30s, in 1930s, in Germany, similar things, political things were going on. And Hitler, who did go to jail too, by the way, he became more of a hero. He did. But he said, he played on that thing like, those people, they're coming here to take your jobs, make us less white. They're coming in, they're invading those people, and they're taking your jobs. And he hit that, and people got scared. They're like, that is right. He is defending us. He's defending Germany, the motherland, right? He wants us to be, and then he takes it a step further because he, has no control. Further, it gets other sadistic people right around him, and they manipulate all these people. And I assume there's a lot of Germans at the end of the war that went, what did we do?
Yeah.
What did we do? How did we, because there were true believers, and I think the thing about somebody like Hitler is it doesn't end well for Hitler. If you just go, oh, I am so megalomaniac, I'm such a megalomaniac, I'm not just going to do this thing. That worries me about Putin because he's like, I want this and then I want that. And then people have to rise up and take that person out. But hopefully we learn from our history and to tamp it down. Tamp it down with this poisoning our blood bullshit. Tamp it down, man.
No, I'm with you. And that's why I'm for standards. Look, I'm not running for office, so I don't have to meet any standards, but these guys do.
They absolutely do. They absolutely do. They, and I was telling somebody on stage, I said, okay, the choices in this election, this is so exciting. We can either elect Skeletor or the worst person who ever lived. And then I also like that RFK Jr., who I've known for so many years because he, I know his family, obviously, but he did all this great work for environmental work, cleaning up the rivers. Like I was all on board with all that. And then somewhere along the line, that wasn't enough for his ego. And he went off, and it came out 2 weeks ago that he has a dead worm in his brain. Like he did it. He said it. And then I heard it was a deposition to get his alimony lowered. So then I was like, I get it. I get the dead. He's like there in there, tell the judge, I will never work again. I have a dead worm in my brain. I wish I would have thought of that. But then he's running for president. You have to answer that question. So we'll see what happens. Women will save us one way or another. That's what always happens. Women get sick of it. They're like, we don't care what your party. We don't like chaos. We're gonna get rid of the chaos because that's too much.
Right. Well, listen, Tom, you've been very gracious. I know
Thanks,
we're
buddy.
over time. I got 2 questions on the way out. One, would you consider doing a part 2 to this down the road at some point because you've been fun? And 2, will you consider coming back doing a Christmas Carol for the kids in November?
Yes. I'll have better wardrobe too. I forget. I went. I had to scramble a bit. Yes, absolutely. If I'm available, I'm there on both of those. Just give me a little time for the part 2 to think of some new stuff. No.
Yeah, well, listen, man, if you want me to send you a script to work on, you can. Although James Cameron would tell me, don't bother. He's not going to look at it anyway.
It seems complicated. No, it's all good. Well, thank you, buddy. I appreciate what you do, number one. Appreciate what you do. I heard you were going to the ER or something. Were you in the ER? My assistant was very worried about you last night.
Oh,
my little assistant, so I was like, I'm worried about him. ER.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Guys our age, when we go to the ER, guys our age, people are like, okay, that's it.
Yeah,
So,
in fact, do you rush or do you dread it? But either way, you got to go. Right? Thanks for asking. Actually, everything's good. We checked out. A little observation and on to the next thing, on to the next heroic task, trying to save the world.
There'll be more, yeah. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Steve. Thank you to all you folks. I really appreciate it.
Likewise, buddy. It's been a privilege. Have a good one.
I'm going to go lay down. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi there, everybody. Voice actor Roger Craig Smith here to talk to you about NMOSD. It can paralyze you, it can blind you, it can even kill you in a matter of minutes, but we are very close to a cure. And with that cure could come a cure for cancer. So please go to the Guthrie Jackson Foundation and donate today. Appreciate it.